Contemporaneous billing in the law is a mental game. In this episode of Be a Better Lawyer podcast, you will learn how to play this game so you can stop worrying about billing and enjoy the last week of the month every month. Today, we are talking about a topic that so many of my clients come to me with, whether inside my group, Timepiece for Lawyers, or working with me privately. Contemporaneous billing is a topic that comes up no matter how long you've been practicing the law and in every single area. A lot of lawyers think this is an issue with the billable hour. But interestingly enough, there are lawyers out there in the world who don't think twice about billing. It's not a problem for them. They just do it and move on to the next task. Did you know that these lawyers exist, right? And if you're one of those lawyers, I will offer that what you will learn in this episode of Be a Better Lawyer is not only how to think more intentionally around other tasks in your law practice that you find annoying or frustrating, but you will be able to teach the people around you who have trouble with contemporaneous billing how to think differently so that they can then make their lives easier and just bill. You can also forward this episode to them with so much love for where they are at right now. Billing contemporaneously is a learnable skill. I promise you can learn it, and you can learn it by just paying attention to the mental game that you are going to learn about here today. If this is a skill that you want support learning along with managing your time effectively overall, I highly recommend that you join me inside of Timepiece for Lawyers. You can learn all about it at dinacataldo.com/timepiece, PEACE. No matter how long you've been a lawyer, you know how to bill contemporaneously, but you don't do it. That's how you know it's not a how-to problem. If you're not billing contemporaneously, or at least pretty darn close to it, then it's a mindset problem. Unfortunately, most lawyers don't realize that contemporaneous billing is a mental game. And what they see is that they either billed the same day or they didn't. And if they didn't, here's what they tend to do. They compare themselves to other lawyers who are contemporaneously billing and beat themselves up for not doing it. They look at their past history of not billing contemporaneously, and they use that information to make the interpretation that they are bad at billing. They put unhelpful thoughts on rerun in their brain. Thoughts like billing is dumb. I just want to do the client work and not bill. If I didn't have to bill, my life would be so much better. I should look for a job that doesn't require billing, and that's going to make life so much easier. Side note here, I actually had a client tell herself this last thought so much that she almost took a job that required the same amount of hours as her current one, but would require her to take a huge pay cut because her brain was convinced that billable hours were the problem. But we coached on it, she saw the light, and she implemented what you are going to hear here today. They Google things like sample attorney billing statements and lawyer billing formats to try and get examples of what good billing looks like because they think the problem is how they're doing it instead of what's going on in their mind when it comes to contemporaneous billing. Now, there are, of course, are some tricks that you can do, copies and pastes that you can do to make your billing easier, but that is not going to be the solution if you're not contemporaneously billing at all. They may try softwares to see if changing the softwares help. But of course, you don't need a gajillion softwares. You just need one and you just need to use it. So here's what they don't do that you're going to learn how to adopt in this episode so you contemporaneously bill more often than not. You're going to examine what good billers think about differently that makes them good billers. In other words, understand the psychology of billing. Treat billing as if it's simply a part of who you are as a lawyer. Habitually think like a lawyer who contemporaneously bills to become a lawyer who bills contemporaneously much more often than not. So I'm going to get you started focusing on the mental game of billing contemporaneously. Let's see how long I can say that word, right, without stuttering. Doing so good so far. But by helping you create a belief plan, I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to tell you all about what a belief plan is in a little bit and help you form your own so that you can bill more hours and do it without so much mental drama. How you think about billing is even more important than how you bill. In other words, if you're thinking crappy thoughts about billing, you are going to be less likely to bill. You're going to put it off. You're going to do any other task besides billing. You're going to talk yourself out of billing. When you really understand this, it becomes so much easier not to judge yourself for where you are right now. If you're not billing, there is nothing wrong with you. You just haven't learned the skill of mastering your mindset around billing. Right now, you may be Googling things like sample attorney billing statements and lawyer billing formats, and that might give you some information. But the key to implementing what you know how to do is what's going on between your ears. So, what's in between your ears? Your thoughts. What is a thought? Well, I asked this question to a client, and her response was, it's something that just pops into your head. And sometimes it is, but ultimately, a thought is a few different things. It's your interpretation of the world, a description of something, and an opinion about whether you think something is good, bad, or neutral, right? Your perception, your interpretation. It's a habit, which means you've practiced a thought enough times that now you have adopted it as reality. So whenever a situation comes up, let's say billing, your brain automatically comes up with a thought, the one that pops into your head, that is a habit. And it feels true because you don't question it. And so that's how you know that your brain believes that that thought is true. It's a choice and it's also energy. Let me break this all down. So a thought might pop into your head, but it popped into your head because it's a habit. It happens a lot, right? Let's look at how you might be thinking about billing right now. These were some of the thoughts I mentioned earlier. Billing is dumb. I just want to do the client work and not bill. If I didn't have to bill, my life would be so much better. I should look for a job that doesn't require billing because that'll make my life easier. Now, if you continue to let the habit of thinking these thoughts run your life, it will negatively impact you. You are guaranteed to bill fewer hours and not bill contemporaneously as often as you would like. These thoughts might feel true, but that's only because you have practiced them a lot. It is a choice to abide by them, to live by them, to keep thinking by them, keep thinking of them. You will remember that thoughts are also energy. So that energy can either be depleted or replenished. When you think, I just want to do the client work and not bill, ask yourself this: do you feel energized or depleted? If you feel demoralized, annoyed, irritated, angry, all of those emotions along that spectrum, they're all depleting. They waste your time, they waste your energy, they feel horrible in your body. Really check in with this. You're going to get used to this feeling because this is going to be the signal that you need to implement your belief plan. So get comfy with these feelings. I'm not saying you need to fall in love with contemporaneous billing, but if you can simply move into a more neutral state by practicing new thoughts like the ones you're going to create in your belief plan, and then creating new habitual ways of thinking, you will drastically cut the mental energy drain and be able to bill more automatically. I'm going to walk you through an exercise I did with my client to help you with this. My client had a really great contemporaneous billing habit, but she noticed that she stopped doing it for a while. And then she had a really good week billing contemporaneously. And she was reminded of how amazing it was when she was billing contemporaneously because her life was just so much easier then. And so I wanted to walk her through an exercise to really help her reconnect with that way of being, of just billing and not thinking about it. And, making that habit. And I want to let you know, for any habit that you're practicing, it's very common to come out of it and then need to get a refresher and come back into it. This happens to me too. I will notice that my habitual way of thinking, after I've practiced it over and over again, my brain's going to go back to that old thought that I used to have that I was trying to practice my way out of. And I just say, oh, I'm just not intentionally thinking. And then I do what I'm going to share with you here today. And it changes things. It helps me refresh that habit. So if you notice yourself doing that, don't beat yourself up. That's just how our brain can work sometimes. Our brain, if you think about it, I like to think about it as a GPS. So if we are driving the same way to the office every single day. We choose one path and we go that way forever. What we have to do to go to the office using another street, we have to think really consciously. Otherwise, we're automatically going to go down that old road and not go the new way that we want to go. So if we notice ourselves going down that old road, we have to back up, we got to slow down, and then we got to say, all right, let's intentionally think about how I want to get to the office, and we take that new road. Same thing when it comes to rewiring your brain. That old road doesn't just disappear, it's always there. What we're doing is reminding ourselves we don't want to go down that old road because that old road does not take us where we want to go. We want to go down the new road. So, what we were working on is thinking intentionally about her billings so that she could just do it. And so, what I did is I walked her through an exercise to help her reconnect with the thoughts that were helpful for her and create a billing belief plan. And I want to do that with you too. So, what I'm going to do here first is just walk you through the questions that I asked her. And I want you to ask these same questions of yourself because that way you can be coaching yourself as you do this. You can really be sitting down and thinking about this, or if you're driving right now while you're listening to this, answer these questions. So here is what I asked her first. What are you thinking about billing that doesn't allow you to bill? And she's been working with me for a while, so she knows what this means. But basically, what are you thinking that is preventing you from billing? And she said, well, I'm super annoyed with billing because I'm busy, right? You know how it is. You're busy, you've got other things going on, and then billing's the last thing you want to do because you just want to keep moving and checking things off your to-do list. So that was the thought we were working with that was the old road. So our first step after we get this old road is really getting clear about how she knows she's even thinking this thought because it happens at the snap of your fingers. It happens so quickly, you may not even notice it, which is why it's dominating your life and why you're not billing. Because when you notice the signs that you're thinking this thought or whatever variation of it that you are that's preventing you from billing, you can catch your brain in the act and you can refocus the brain on a new belief and practice it. You are rewiring the brain to do what you want the more often that you do this. So I asked her what she noticed that she did when she skipped the billing and just went on to the next task. What she said is she would notice that she'd be in the middle of typing a narrative while she's billing and then jump back into her email or do just about anything else, whether it was a file on her desk or somebody walked in the door and chatted, whatever it was, she would do anything else rather than stay with the billing, finish the billing, and then move on to the next task. Looking back, she also noticed that she would feel tight in her shoulders and that her breathing would be shallow. These are things I want to ask you. Check in. What do you do when you finish a task, right? You're finishing a task and then you're going into billing. What are your habits when you skip billing? Are you even starting billing? Is billing even on your radar when you're doing tasks? What's going on? How do you feel in your body when you skip billing? Do you feel tense? Does it not register at all? Do you feel kind of numb, angry, irritated, annoyed, anything? What is going on in your body? Because when you start noticing this, you can use these cues as tools to take you to the place you want to go down the road that you want to go. So then what I did after she completed this part, I asked her what was different when she was billing. What did she notice? She said that she noticed that when she was in the middle of a narrative and she felt the urge to check for an email, she said to herself, girl, you are literally in the middle of billing. All you have to do is complete the sentence. It'll take like 3 seconds. Like that was what she said to herself when she was billing, and then she would finish the narrative and move on. Notice what she did. First, she caught the urge to move on to an email. I want you to be able to notice whatever you're doing, there's a feeling associated with it. And then she paused and talked herself through completing the task. This is the process of rewiring the brain I'm talking about. She is conscious throughout this process. She's present with herself. If you are rushing around and busy all the time and never able to slow yourself down, you will not be able to do this, period. You have got to be able to consciously slow yourself internally enough so that you can actually feel the feelings that you're having in the moment, irritation, annoyance, whatever it is, and pause long enough to say, whoa, Let's not let this take me down the road I don't want to go on. I want to go down a new road. So I've got to pause here. And then when she paused there, she had a conversation with herself. You can only have that kind of a conversation with yourself when you are present with yourself. That is what it takes to build contemporaneously. And if you are not conscious, you will not do it. So you've got to be present to this. I asked her what she noticed was different when she spoke to herself in this way. She said she noticed that not only did she bill more consistently throughout the day, but she didn't beat herself up if she didn't. And instead, she just took a few minutes at the end of the day to wrap up, whether it was 15 minutes at the end of the day, whether it was she got home and she had done all the things with her family, and then she took a few minutes just to finish up her day. Like she was just like, okay, boom, my billing is done for the day. And one of the things I like to do is really help lawyers sink into the mindset that they want to generate to get the results that they want. One way I do that is by asking questions like these. But here's another question I want to layer onto this. I asked her if she thought billing was important. And she said, no, but I think it should be important. Right. And there's a difference here, right? If you really believe something is important, it is easy. It is second nature. You do it. And then if you aren't thinking truly that it's important and you're telling yourself it should be important, it feels horrible. It feels like you're forced to eat your vegetables. You're all tight, you're resistant, you don't want to do it. It's like being that kid at the dinner table just resisting your parents. But here's what I knew. And what she told me is she wanted billing to be important to her, right? So we looked at the reasons why it was important to her so she could really sink into why it was important and why she wanted to believe in intentionally that this was important to her. And I'm going to pose this same question to you before I get to the answer she gave me for her. Ask yourself, why might billing contemporaneously be important to you? What would change in your life if you did it? What would change in your day if you did bill? What would change by the end of the year if you did bill? What would make your life easier if you did bill contemporaneously? There's so many things. I know that you have this in your brain. You just got to sit with this. But here's what my client said. She said, it saves me time because I don't have to go back and forth between emails and calls and asking myself whether I responded to emails or whether or not I'd already billed for something. I don't scramble at the end of the month to get things done, which feels horrible to me. When I bill contemporaneously, I capture more hours, which means because I capture more hours, I get a bigger bonus and I get a raise. And when I do this, I get to keep my sanity and not constantly worry about billing all month long, just having that thought in my head, worrying about billing over and over again. It feels good because I feel proud of myself at the end of the day that I got it done, but even more. And this particular client has a goal outside of her practice that requires funding, right? It requires more money. And if she bills contemporaneously, she gets to fund those dreams. In fact, those dreams will take a lot longer to materialize if she does not bill contemporaneously. So now I want to ask you the same question I asked her next, which is what are you losing out on by not billing contemporaneously? In her case, she's losing out on creating the life that she wants, creating the dream life she sees for herself and her family. That's what she's losing out on every single day when she doesn't remind herself that she needs to bill, that she wants to bill, so that she gets everything that she wants. That is her opportunity, right? Like her opportunity is to remind herself, this is important to me. In fact, I would urge you to adopt that as part of any belief plan. It is important. Once you're clear on this for yourself, you are going to want to weave these reasons, these beliefs into a belief plan that you're going to practice so you can bill more easily. So let's get to what a belief plan is. A belief plan is simply a set of thoughts that you practice thinking regularly when you notice the old beliefs coming up. The process of creating a belief plan requires you try on different thoughts, kind of like you're in a clothing store and you're trying on new outfits. You're checking how how they feel on your body, what's the fabric feel like, or if you're at a buffet and you're trying different foods, what tastes good to you? This is a sensory experience, not just repeating a sentence over and over in your head, hoping that it's going to stick. That's not how this works. This is a thought feeling combination. You've got to really feel this in your body. It has to be meaningful to you. You may hear some thoughts that I give you right now, and they're meaningless to you, and they're not going to help you. When I'm in a call with a client, I'm able to tease out what is meaningful to them and how they can apply it and really get to some really good thoughts for them. But you're going to have to do this on your own, but you can do it, right? You can listen to this and you can say, oh, what feels good? I don't like that thought. That doesn't feel good to me. I don't believe that thought. That's something that I really want you to check in on here as we go along through this. I'm going to help you through this process here, but here's some general guidelines. You want the thoughts you practice to feel better than what you're feeling now when you think about contemporaneous billing. So if you're feeling annoyed, you want to feel better than annoyed. You want to feel maybe neutral. Maybe it even feels like committed or empowered. Maybe there's a thought like that that comes to you that feels good like that. And you want to feel the impact of these thoughts in your body when you think them. Notice I keep coming back to feeling. And, Lord knows us lawyers, we have a hard time getting in touch with our feelings, but that's absolutely required to do this. You've got to get in touch with this. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to rewire your brain. So you want to understand how you feel in your body. And when you think these thoughts that you're going to create as part of your belief plan, you're going to feel them in your body. What are you feeling? Committed, interested, desire. These are some of the thoughts some of the feelings that I really like. Empowered. Those kinds of curious. These kinds of thoughts feel so much better in my body, right? And how might you come up with curious around billing? Well, it might be, wow, I wonder what would happen if I billed contemporaneously for a full year, how many more hours I would capture and how much bigger my bonus would be at the end of the year. Like that could be exciting too, right? Saying, "Oh yeah, if I'm doing this, like I can see that being more, but I wonder how much more." Right? Because if you're billing contemporaneously, you don't have to work harder to get more hours. You are now capturing more hours and you are better able to get the bonus that you want at the end of the year if that's how your compensation is structured. So just notice this. So, for example, my client's thought originally was, I'm super annoyed with billing because I'm busy. She felt annoyed when she thought that. So, for her belief plan, she would notice the annoyed feeling, but then talk herself through that feeling with these thoughts. And these are thoughts that we came up with she was trying on, just like she'd try on a new outfit. It's easier to bill now than at the end of the month. For her, this feeling that she got when she thought this thought was more neutral. And when you feel more neutral, it tells me that you believe it. Like, yeah, it's a fact. It's easier to bill now than at the end of the month. Totally true. Another thought that we were trying on was billing is easy. Now, this may or may not feel good for you, but for her, it worked and it felt better than annoyed. I know how to bill. I know how to get it done. It's happening. I can do this. This is important. That's one that I just came up with as we were going through this episode. But I want you to have these thoughts and just play with them. Think about them. See how they feel in your body. Try them each on. Which one feels true now, one that you could actually use? And that's important because you don't want to try to shove a square peg into a round hole. You want this to feel simple. That way, your brain is more likely to accept it the more that you practice it. We don't want your brain rejecting the thought. Then you're going to take the thoughts that you like and you're going to make little post-its. This is my favorite part. You're going to take some nice little post-its and you're going to place them with the thoughts you want to practice in areas you're most likely to see them and practice them with the feeling in your body when you read them. You can also get an index card. You can write the thoughts down on the index card and you can have it at your desk. So every morning when you come to your desk, you can sit there, you can read your thoughts, you could take a few breaths, feel the feeling. You can then, when you go back out for lunch and you come back, you read it again. Whenever you come to your desk, you read the card, you breathe, you feel the feelings, right? You're starting to practice and internalize and start to refocus your brain on the road you want to go down. And you will see a difference when you do this. I do this with different aspects of my business that I'm working on, and practicing my belief plan helps me stay focused and feel better. And that helps me perform better on whatever it is that I'm working on. So if you have a goal that you want to work on and it's not contemporaneous billing, for instance, it's, you know, I don't know, working out more, whatever it is, you can create a belief plan around that and do this the same way. This is not a one and done. This is, you can have a belief plan, but you've actually got to think the thoughts and feel the feelings. You actually have to sit down and do this work. And it is not something that you're going to have to like look at the thought, and you're going to need to internalize and feel it. It's not something that's just going to do itself. Billing contemporaneously does not have to be hard. It's something you can do. As you make it a regular part of your day, you're going to start making time for it too. You're going to feel more and more like a lawyer who bills simply and easily. You'll become that lawyer, and pretty soon people are going to be wondering what your secret is. Then you can feel free to share this episode with them. And if you want to dive deeper into what's possible for you, whether it's taking control of your time or growing your law practice with more ease, there's two ways you can work with me. One is in my group coaching program, Timepiece for Lawyers, where we focus on learning and practicing how to manage your time effectively. Part of that is doing things like billing contemporaneously, boundaries, using a calendar to your advantage to create more peace in your practice. The second way to work with me is privately in one-on-one coaching. I work with lawyers on time management and also on growing their practices simply. You can learn more about both at my website at dinacataldo.com. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate that you have so many options to listen to, all these different amazing podcasts on your podcast player. So the fact that you are here with me today means a lot to me. So I hope you have a fabulous rest of your week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.